I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
Great, another broken white boy for us to fix.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are. With great power comes great responsibility. I can do this all day.
Wakanda forever!
And what's up, y'all, and welcome to the Views from the 616 special preview, no real spoilers review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And as you can see, it's your boy, DJ Ben Amin, aka Brother Voodoo Child, holla, 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 Thanos the Sad Titan, John Walk It Out. Here on the spaceship, like I said, we're doing a review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And I have some very special guests with me here tonight. Returning for his second time, we have Ron Solo of the Ron Solo of POC Culture. I almost said of the POC Culture, and that really doesn't work right. So
it's all good. I'm of the culture. So thank you, man. It's exciting to be back here. Ron Solo, aka the Karate Kid and Play, aka Kung Fu Hustle and Flow, aka Simu Luke Skywalker, and of course, aka Bruce Leroy Jenkins.
Wait, Simu Luke
Skywalker.
You were good. You were so good, Ron. You've been rolling with these, Ron. And then
that one's so good. All right.
I don't know. We'll let twitch.tv/forallnerds. We'll let them figure it out.
Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Plus, once you watch the movie, you're gonna feel what I'm saying too.
Okay. There we go. And also, for the first time, I'm so happy to welcome Laura Siricool of the Nerds of Color.
Hi, I am so happy to be here. I'm Laura. You could call me Laura. That's it. That's all I have.
No AKAs? No?
No AKA.
Okay.
No, I got no AKA. I have no. Ron Solo could give me a name. He could totally. Tico.
Think about it.
I gotta think about this. I mean, your last name Siri Cool is like that. That works for a lot of things. We can definitely flip that. We will figure it out. But like I said before, we are here with our review of Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. We will keep it as spoiler free as possible. I know there's a few things that we all want to talk about that like get into the little bit of spoilerish territory. But we will, keep it pretty smooth. So if you haven't seen it yet, you probably, you haven't, ain't no bootlegs or any of that out there yet. So you probably haven't seen it yet. So we're going to keep it, cool right here. And first off, I just want to know, what did y'all think of it overall? Laura, since you're the first, new person here.
No. I had a fun time. It was really entertaining. I sat down and I took it all in, and it was just so much fun. It was so lively. It was a great mixture of the Chinese culture, like Chinese American culture, mixed with the Marvel formula. It just meshed really well. Like, it didn't feel like, in your face, like Asian. It's like just a general Marvel film that just happens to have Asians, and it's great. I felt a sigh of relief, honestly. Like, after the movie was over, I was just like, I'm so glad. Like, I am so glad for our people. It's good, and it's so fun, and it's funny. It has so much levity to it when, this character is so serious in the comic books, and it's great to see just it come to life in this way with the cast, it's just being perfectly cast, like this whole cast, and just adding some like fun elements to it.
No, I feel you so much on that sigh of relief, because I think I was telling Tatiana this before it came out, because I was like, I wonder, do they feel like that? Because I will never forget, as long as I live, when we were at the premiere of Black Panther, and I was out in LA, and it was like a lot of people there, and like I see my peoples, I see Chuck Creedmoor, my man Mellow Marketer, all these people, and we're all sitting there like, yo, what the fuck, yo, please, God. please, like just please, like, and then afterwards I have video of us all walking out of the theater and we're all like, yo, they did it. So I'm glad to hear that y'all, the people are feeling the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a great relief that it's like they did a really great job putting it together and not putting it in your face about like Asian. It's more like like Asian, like blah, like it's more of like this is a Marvel character who happens to be Asian and has the elements like Chinese, a lot of Chinese elements. There's a lot of Chinese elements, but the thing is, in the real world, there's two things. But in like the character Shang-Chi, like he himself is like Americanized, like Chinese American. And so that itself, like there is a lot of Chinese elements, but for him and the other characters, I felt like it was a good character to have in the MCU, in the Avengers, because hopefully the Avengers, hopefully we'll see.
Obviously.
I don't know what's going to happen, but like hopefully he'll get somewhere. And I just feel like he's a good, like the character is such a good, he's not like, he's just American, like Asian American. And it's nice to have that.
Okay. Ron?
For sure. I mean, I think for me, the last thing Laura said is the number one thing that resonated with me, which is it's an Asian American film, which was one of my biggest concerns going into the film. Are they going to pander to China? Is this movie actually about establishing an Asian American character as part of the MCU? And like Laura said, is he going to be part of the Avengers and stand shoulder to shoulder with T'Challa or, rest in peace, but Black Panther with Captain Marvel and so on? Or is it going to be Chinese character like, hey, China, come to the box office because we want your money. And I was so relieved, like you said, Ben, relieved to find that they didn't pander. That's not the goal of the film, which was the most important thing to me. It's a very Asian American film, which we can get into. Two, the characterizations are really important, right? You can't just have caricatures, which all too often in US media, Asian characters are just caricatures. And Shang-Chi in comics for like decades is for the most part a fortune cookie, right? He kicks, he punches, he says, "Oh, very good," and like gives like Asian wisdom for no reason. Like it's just the character is cool, but also has a lot of issues because it was created by white comic creators, which that's all there was back in the 70s in America, and that's been perpetuated until really the last year. So the characterizations, I loved all of them. It wasn't just Shang-Chi, it was Xiaoling, it was Wenwu, it was Katie. So many of them were good characters. And then, of course, look, if you got a character like Shang-Chi, the master of Kung Fu, the action's got to deliver. And it did. And it was killer. It was just a good time. And there were layers on top of that. So I loved it.
Okay, one question I have right there is, I know before the film, there was some worry that they were going to, like, let's say, mix and match the different Asian communities. And you're saying, like, as someone from outside who would, I know, this is China, this is Japan. There's, obviously differences, but I'm not going to know the intricacies of everything. So do you feel that they, like with Black Panther, they definitely went and took from everywhere in Africa and made Wakanda? Do you feel that they did a good job with Shang and everyone in it of being distinct and still getting, like showing love to everyone?
It is distinctly Chinese.
Okay.
I will say that. It's distinctly Chinese regarding the what you see and the language. Obviously, they're speaking Chinese, and the mythical like things that happen. It's all Chinese formulas. Like it's Chinese history, so like mythical stuff. And so they really focus on Chinese, like the Chinese culture, which is East Asian. So it's like. And I know the casting was they were only calling for Chinese descent.
Okay.
And plus, and the writer, the screenwriter, is fortunately Chinese. So it's great that he has his aspect, like his point of view.
Wow. So they did it right. Like seems.
So I feel like everyone's always worried, like, oh, it's kung fu, it's martial arts, like you're like, oh, you guys are being your own stereotype. But the thing is, we are writing the story. We are creating the narrative. We're owning up to our history or like who we are. Like we are taking ownership of it. And so I feel like, so what? We do martial arts. It's written by us. it's starring us. And I feel like that's what I'm totally fine with Shang-Chi having so much martial arts. Plus the comic books, he's the best martial artist in the world. So I don't see a problem, especially since it's written by like a Chinese American person too. And Asian American. Destin also is Asian American.
Right. And Laura's better. So I'm not Chinese, I'm Korean American. And so I think Laura is the right person to answer that question. So I'm glad that she did in that way. From my perspective, it's like, that's why it's the Asian American angle that resonates with me, right? Like Destin is Japanese American. I was excited to see him on board, but it's true. Like when they were casting, they really made sure everybody had to be Chinese. And so there's that balance, they do want to be respectful of the Chinese culture because Shang-Chi is Chinese. But by the way, as you all may probably know, in the comics, his mom is actually a white blonde woman. That's the origin of the character that people have conveniently forgotten, that Marvel even ignores. And of course, that's not the story in the MCU. But I always say Shang-Chi is Asian American because, again, his mom is supposed to be a white woman. So,
he's also Asian American because he is an immigrant too, like first generation. So he came here and he established himself in America. And in this story, he was young when he came here. And I feel like that's a lot of Asian American story too, where they come here when they were teenagers or elementary school, and they're from both worlds. They're American, but they also understand the Chinese aspects. And then that's not just for Chinese people; it's for all types. Thai people. My parents came here when they were in their teens. There's just different people. People come here when they're parents come here when they're teenagers, or kids come here when they're teenagers, but they're still American. And so I feel like Shang-Chi does represent the Asian American experience of coming here, establishing himself as both Asian and American.
And that's the theme of the film, by the way. Like everything Laura's talking about in terms of traditions and being an immigrant, the 10 rings represent that legacy, right? It's a really cool weapon. Everybody loves the 10 rings, but symbolically for Asian Americans, it represents like the traditions that the parents bring as immigrants, and they want to pass it on to us, to the next generation. But often, many of us are like, and this isn't exclusive to Asians, all immigrant kids are like, oh no, I'm not into that old world stuff, that weird stuff that you guys do. I want to really kind of embrace American culture, like Western culture, that's shiny and cool, and that we see in pop culture. And so this is what I love about this, is that's why we need that Asianness in pop culture, so that it's not embarrassing when these kids grow up and they realize that embracing who you are, your family culture, is part of going forward too, and being an Asian American.
And that's so powerful, because that's something like, when I grew up, it was like an insult was to be an African booty scratcher. Like I knew mad people who were African, who were like first generation Africans, and would say, no, I'm just African American like y'all, would not talk about being from Africa, any of that thing. And then now you have Black Panther, and I know people in Ethiopia who claim Wakanda as Ethiopia, nah, they're just trying to be us, so it's turned it around. And with that, you have even Black African Americans with their interest in going back to various countries in Africa to explore it more, and it's that effect. And people underestimate how powerful these MCU films are in our larger culture, and how powerful it is to see heroes like me. I thought my general reactions was, it was a great film, solid MCU movie. Like Laura said, it's not about being this Asian MCU movie. It's just a MCU movie that features Asian people, and it's just a dope flick. I put it on like the level of Ant-Man, where it's like a character that most people don't know, that most people are gonna be like, I don't know, Ant-Man, what can he do? And then you come out of Ant-Man, you're like, yo, that's one of the best MCU movies of a character I had no idea about. And it's the same thing, because you introduce all the stuff, plus they get a lot of culture that Ant-Man doesn't have to carry, and they get all that through, beautifully. It's just a dope flick. But, that's the thing, when you see yourself as a hero, that was my first reaction, because I was sitting there, and when he starts going ham on the bus, I'm like, oh shit, some little kid somewhere is watching this right now and like, losing it. Their brain and their life is forever changed by these moments. And so that was the joy for me in it, because I just like, It was the same as when I saw Black Panther, and it's like I was like, oh my God, this don't change kids, you know. And that's the same thing that I see with this. And like, shout out to Rodimus Prime, like you said, the only forms of capitalism we F with are POC capitalism and Disney capitalism, because they're not going to leave anyone behind. You know, they want all the money, and so they're gonna they fuck it up a lot. You know, at the same time, when they're not doing straight white men, they mess it up, and that was my worry, because I still haven't even seen Mulan, because I just heard that it ain't that joint, and so I was worried. But you know, I'm so happy to hear from both of y'all that you know it hit like that. And that the themes, like the two themes that I really took from it were family and legacy. And I'm glad that, you know, that was something that resonated with both of you as well.
Yeah, Destin, director Destin, Destin Daniel, he is really good at family, like writing families and emotional story arcs, like with Short Term 12, his indie, and like Just Mercy. He's really good at getting into the soul of the story. And I feel like he did a really great job of like getting into each character, including the villain. And like a lot of people are like, oh, the villain is like bad, is a bad guy, but he gives so much depth to the villain. And like, you know, it's Marvel has its up and then downs about their villains. Like sometimes it's going to be just like, I just want to destroy the world, like in Black Widow, or they're Loki, you know, they're great characters. Or, you know, they're one-dimensional or they're multi-dimensional. And I feel like he did a great job making this character multi-dimensional.
Yeah. They're either classic.
Yes.
And he's he's one of the greatest ever. Like, come on now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, like hard-boiled, come on now. I mean, that was life-changing for me. Like,
he's a legend.
Yeah.
He's a legend. Tony Leung.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think what's awesome is that more US viewers can say, oh man, like I have heard of Tony Leung, but I don't really know that much about him. So let me go check out, you know, whatever it might be that you see in The Mood for Love, or, you know, even Red Cliff, or, you know, Infernal Affairs. There's so many, like, you just can't go wrong.
Yeah.
And to that point, you know, about the villain here, I will say that I think Wenwu is like the most sympathetic MCU villain that we've seen in a film. You know, like Loki, Loki had a whole series after.
Of course.
So it's like a different thing. But, you know, what I loved after Black Panther is all the Killmonger was right shirts, signs, you know, tweets, all that, which spoke to the depth that they gave Killmonger. And I think with Wenwu, they did just a masterful job, not just bringing Tony over so that he has that name recognition, but I mean, Tony's an actor who just exudes emotion and warmth and power. We call him Regal for a reason. And he brought all that, and he was allowed to do that and into the character that, man, every scene he's in, you're just like glued to the screen. And so no spoilers, but incredible job by Tony.
I mean, he's not just only hot, but he's also like so talented that you are staring at, that you're capturing, like, just he's such a great actor, and like you can't just help but stare at like not only his beauty but his art. It's weird. It's hard to say because I watch all his films, and it's just he's just so good at just even the subtle movements of his face, even when he's staring at a paper. It's just you can feel what he's feeling, and I think Marvel did an excellent job picking him. The whole cast in general, the whole cast is amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, as always. Yeah, as always, Marvel just does not miss with their casting. Even when I'm like, I don't know, you know, it's like, nope, you're wrong.
Well, we're going to say that they don't miss on Phase 4. We're just going to say the Phase 4 and the people of color ones.
Okay.
Wait, Laura, who's the bad casting?
Yeah,
I don't know. Who's not Asian?
We're talking. Okay,
okay then.
Watching of it. Sorry, I was thinking about main characters like heroes.
Oh no, I'm thinking of
But you're right.
Yeah.
Wait, who am I? The Asian one.
Who am I missing?
The Asian one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one we try not to talk about that.
You know, that's just one of the ones where you be like, because especially because I know the story with the director, and he was really trying. You know, he didn't want to catch the heat that he thought he was going to catch with like a Fu Manchu type character. But he missed. It happens. Like,
yeah, well, that's the perfect example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a great director. He's
Yeah.
amazing, and he's like, but it was just a miscast that caused just a lot of disappointment. She's an amazing actress, but it's just, but I feel like with the casting, they're really thinking about it.
Yeah. But that's also what Laura was talking about earlier about it's Asians we're reclaiming that history of injustice, frankly, in casting in these stories. Look, when you think about martial arts focused films in the 80s and 90s, I mean, who are you thinking about? After Bruce Lee in the 70s, you're thinking about like Van Damme, Steven Seagal, the Karate Kid. Even now, Cobra Kai is like still focused on white characters, which I like Cobra Kai.
I love Cobra Kai.
I like it too. It's really entertaining. But look, you couldn't bring like a primary Asian character like they did with Josa in like the first season. He gets sidelined, and it's just when Asians tell our story, it's not the problem isn't that it's a martial arts story. The problem is it's only a martial arts caricature and there's no depth to characters. There's no emotion or personality. None of us are just going to the gym and just kicking and punching 24 hours a day and then, saying a fortune cookie line and going to sleep, But when you have love, when you have friendship, when you have fun, like this movie is so funny. I was not prepared for how hilariously funny this movie is. And that really shows that Marvel understood. They understood the assignment.
They knew the assignment, yeah.
And there's certain stuff like that I saw in Laura's notes that like some of the best comedy scenes that I don't want to spoil because it was just that surprise of seeing it, but it also combines like the Asian culture. And as soon as it hit, I'm just like, and I just need to see like a whole super cut of, like those characters in that scene. Like I know there's outtakes of them, Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot that we can say that doesn't spoil the story, but like there's a lot of subtle nods to the Asian, like subtle nods to Asianness, which is taking off your shoes. They took off their shoes. That's a big deal.
And like zoomed in on that.
And they zoomed in on him taking off his shoes, and that's a big deal for us. And also, like we karaoke, like not all of us, but a majority of us. We have a lot of karaoke bars in. Well, K-Town has it, tons. And I love K-Town. Little Tokyo has a bunch. I just know a whole bunch of Asians loved karaoke, and I love the fact that they did the karaoke place that was your own private room, and you see the words like flying over like a random photo, and it just reminded me of like going to karaoke with my friends in Chinatown or in K-Town, it's just a fun setting like that. And when they were singing like that, I was just like, this is me and my friends. Like, this is how I spend my time with my friends. Like before the pandemic, this is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. The scene when, this isn't a real spoiler because it's not a big deal. It's not a plot point, but there's a moment when we all know that in the movie, Shang-Chi and Katie are friends. They hang out. We've seen it in the trailers. And then Katie's mom is like, when y'all getting married?
It was grandma. It was grandma.
Sorry.
Yeah. Grandma.
She's like, when are you getting married? I mean, listen, we've all heard that at some point with any kind of relationship. So those are the small things that they understand.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is like something that Asian Americans and immigrants in general, and like even African Americans, because of our experience and the way a lot of us, especially I know Southern, especially how I was raised, like when all these things are just intrinsic to my culture too. Taking off your shoes when you walk in the house. Your grandma, your mom, if you show up with anyone, it don't matter what you show up at a funeral, they gonna ask when you get married. It does not matter. Like, don't show up with someone unless you want that question. So all these things were just hitting me, as well. And then that's something I want to, talk about is like the action, because as a Black kid who grew up on martial arts films, that was every Saturday, Wu-Tang, when Wu-Tang came out, it was like, oh yeah, it's why we all related to Wu-Tang, because we all had that same experience of knowing these joints backwards and forwards. And like college, that's when I got into Hard Boiled and The Killer because of Wu-Tang once again. And that's when I started watching them. And then the Raids, and just on down the line. Crouching Tiger, everything that I could get. And so that was another thing. I was like, oh God, please, please get this right. And from like the nods to Crouching Tiger to the nods to Jackie Chan to the nods to, I mean, shout out Jackie Chan and Drunken Master 2, one of the greatest things ever made in life. But yeah, like, I mean, I thought the action was just on point. So how did y'all feel?
Go, Laura. I know this is something.
No, it's the action was amazing. Like it was suspenseful. There was times where they had the Crouching Tiger style, and it was like a dance. It was beautiful. Like there's action that you see, and then you're just like, oh man, this is like it hypes you up. But there is also martial arts that you see, and it's just like you're touched because you're touched because it's just so beautiful. It's like a dance. You're watching the dance, but it is slower martial arts, like a mixture of like Tai Chi and stuff, and it's beautiful to watch. And I just love the different styles that they displayed on the screen. They even had jacket fu, which is like kung fu using jackets, and I love that. That's like one of my favorite things to watch. And I just love that they added so many like elements, and they also like the team, like the Jackie Chan stunt team. I know like is part of this too, and Brad Allen. Like it's just they just did a wonderful job, like making sure it hits all the points because there's a lot of pressure. This is the Asian American film, and he's the best martial artist in the world. So I feel like they had to get this right, and they did a great job. I was just impressed. I was so impressed.
Agreed. You know, the thing that people may not recognize is like people with dance backgrounds often make the best martial artists. And so to Laura's point about how it felt like dance, you know, Michelle Yeoh, her background is in ballet. Bruce Lee was a cha-cha master back in China before he became who he was. And we see that really just characterized in the martial arts. There's a beauty to it in this film that you don't often see when someone doesn't fully understand that background. So I loved it. The Jackie Chan stunt team is like second to none. And like Laura mentioned, Brad Allen, who's a stunt coordinator, suddenly passed away. He was the first non-Asian member of the Jackie Chan stunt team. And Jackie Chan absolutely adored him, called him like his own son. And so the whole community felt that loss, but it just shows if it had to happen, sadly, this is an incredible way for him to just continue his legacy so people understand what he's about and what he brought to the table. And the other thing I want to mention is the Death Dealer. You know, I was one of the first people to kind of piece it together and report out there that Andy Lee of Martial Club, who is an online phenomenon, is the one who plays Death Dealer. And, you know, Marvel was real secretive about it, you know, hiding the identity behind the mask. If you all don't know Martial Club, go to his website, go to YouTube. He is sick. And he's been doing it for 10 years just on his own. He's one of those guys who's just like, I love martial arts. I'm just going to do it and put it out there. And so he's Vietnamese American. His, you know, family's refugees and came here. And he's just the guy who made it. He's like you and me who made it. And Brad Allen identified him, recognized his talents, and said, I think I've got a role for you. And the Death Dealer, I mean, doesn't like do a whole lot, but when he's on screen, it's electric, right? It's like a bolt of lightning. And you see it, that's authenticity. You can't get anywhere else. You can't fake it.
Man, Ron, you about to have me in tears over here. Like, you know, between Brad and this guy, like, I'm just like, damn, like, and it's something that always carries me from watching the Infinity War director's commentary. The Russo brothers would talk about how action should always denote character. Like, you shouldn't even have any action unless it's telling you more about the character. And this shit got that, you know, to a T. Like, it's just to perfection how they show you people's character through their fight scenes and how it tells you more about them just when they're fighting. I mean, like I said, when Shang just first busts out, it's such a moment. And I'd seen the trailers and I was kind of worried because in the trailers you have your man, Razor Fist, whatever, swinging that mess around a lot, and they're doing the slow motion shot. And I'm like, oh God, it's just gonna be some, you know, a lot of slow motion and a lot of effects. And then he starts putting them hands, elbows, everything on people. And, you know, I was just sitting there like, yes, they did it.
Yeah, Simu did a really fantastic job. And his stunts people too, like along with his stunts people. Like I know he is also a martial artist. So I feel like he understands how to perform, like do these moves. But also I know he also has a stunt team who also like do the like most difficult ones as well. And so they really picked a great person to portray the greatest martial artist in the world, you know? And yeah, like when I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, please let the fighting. And they released like some of the clips and stuff. And I was just so excited because it's like, he really displays art, like the martial arts of like the like just the beats. He hits every beat of it, like and the like position's correct, like it's great. And so it got me excited that Simu was cast, and you know, I was excited when he first got cast. I was like, oh my god, he's a martial artist and he's great. And so it's great to kind of see that play out, you know, because I knew he was a martial artist, like just him performing on YouTube and all that stuff. But just seeing him play out as Shang-Chi, it's like that was a really great moment.
Yeah,
I know Ron is a huge fanboy of Simu, so I'm like,
yeah, he's dope. I mean, I think everything Laura said, 100% agree. And then the only thing I'll add to that is that I think the film did a really good job of building on his strengths, on what he's good at, because that's the key to a good film, right? You got to leverage your assets. And Simu is really good at parkour. He has a really strong background in that. And that bus scene we've all seen in the trailers. Here's the thing. We've seen a lot of it, but when the way they put it together and the way they just, set it all up, I thought was just awesome. And so even though we've seen it, that's still one of my favorite scenes of the film. And and you could see the parkour background in that scene. And then going back to just being funny, right? Like he is funny. He has that, like, you know what Simu has down? He has that like furrow browed, like WTF, like what is happening? Facial expression.
He's really good at that. Yeah.
And I think that even if you've seen the trailers, not like the later trailers, but like if you've seen the first couple, I don't think you've seen anything from the bus scene. Because the bus scene, the way it's shot and the way they show you, like I said, they show you a lot of the special effects shots, but they don't show you him getting down and dirty. And that is the best part about it. And like you said, I know Tatiana had a worry about this, like, because I was telling her how later Shang-Chi in the comics, like especially during the Hickman run, he becomes this smooth James Bond ill player type dude. And she was like, is he going to be able to do that? You know, and I was like, I don't know. You know, I know you did the one comedy, but having seen it, I think he can stand toe to toe with any of the Marvel characters, like, you know, with Tone, well, rest in peace, damn, everybody, you know, like the people he can trade the lines with. You know, I mean, I guess Doctor Strange, he'd eat Doctor Strange up, though, in terms of, like, smoothness, so. Damn, right? But Thor ain't really smooth, you know? Like, Thor ain't, like, Tony smooth or, like, T'Challa smooth. Damn, it's a hole right now as far as...
You know what I love about, like, character Shang-Chi? Like, he's like a guy I would know. Like, he seems like one of those guys I would, like, the personality of, like, just being laid back. And he's not like, I'm smooth, hey, I'm going to get a girl. Because you don't see him doing that. You just see him hanging out with his friend, like, living his life, and having lunch with his friend, like, dinner with his friends and telling them what's going on. And then, like, Venmo, like, talking about, like, that. And it's a guy I would know. And that's what I love about it. It's like, I don't want a smooth talker where he's like, hey, ladies, like, how's it going? Because, like, yeah, like we had that with Tony, but what I want to see is like, and I want to see for little boys and like little girls who want to see themselves and see that it's just a regular guy who's really great amazing at martial arts, and he's not a smooth talker, he's not like all this stuff. He's just a normal guy that you would know. He's like your uncle, he's your brother, he's your cousin. You know, it's like he's your boyfriend. You know, like he's your crush. Mostly the crush, but like, yeah, it's the guy that you know, and that's what I love about the character.
And then he takes that shirt off, and he's not the guy that I know.
And then he's like, "What's up?"
He's not me when I take my shirt off. No, there's a difference there.
I love that scene in the trailer, by the way.
Yeah,
Awkwafina's like, "What happened to your shirt?"
Yeah,
it's like a great moment.
And that's what I mean about him. Like when he's smooth in that way, where he, like Laura, like you said, he's smooth. Where he doesn't have to act like it. Like Tony, it's definitely like, you know, I'm trying to put on something and I'm always trying to have my lines. You know, I got to be witty at every moment. While Shang, it's just like, oh, I'm just here. But I can see like in a later film, when you put him in a suit, you know, and send him off to the ball, he's not going to have no problem there either. You know, he'll be able to work that room just as well. So
well, he looks good, so I feel like he doesn't have to talk. He's one of those guys who's just like smiles and then he's fine.
Yeah. And then you take the shirt off and it helps.
And it's even more better. I'm like, oh.
Then it's like, okay, yeah. Seals the deal pretty much. So okay, the action's great. We love the general, film. We feel like the themes of this movie, that really are done well are legacy and family. So let's talk about some of the characters. Like we have our lead, Shang-Chi. We said, what else can we say about him? He did the damn thing, right? So anything else?
There's Awkwafina. She's actually really, really, really fantastic in this role. And yeah, I know. Like the theme. The thing is, she hits every cue. Like everything that was supposed to be funny, she hits it, and it is really, really funny.
Yes.
Yeah, and the great thing is the theme of family. It's not only like blood family; it's found family. And I feel like with their relationship, it's like they found each other and like they become a part of their lives. And it's not just their friends; they're basically family. Like they have this bond, this closeness. And so we know he runs away from his family and stuff. So he has a newfound family, and I love that it's not just it's not just about your blood family, but it's also about the family you find along the way.
Oh. No, that's for real though, because especially with Awkwafina, because I have my reservations about her. But Marvel has this way of doing that. I have my reservations about Chris Pratt and about Falcon.
Anthony Mackie.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, I have my reservations about both of them and their politics, but they are such good actors and so good and so well casted that it makes me forget that. And that was the same thing with Awkwafina. Like I have my reservations about her past and what she's done, and her notes and her just quiet about it, but she's really good. She really kills it in this movie. She's hilarious. Like you say, all the beats are right. And, overall, I thought she was, there were things about her character where towards the end where I was like, but as a friend to Shang and everything, I thought she was great, and I thought that was a great thing that they were friends and people are pushing them together. And there's obviously, it's an action movie and everything, so there should be chances for romance, but they really just stick on this, let's stay with friends and family vibe. And I think that's, that I really appreciated about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also, had my reservations too. And I think like, we do have to recognize, right? Like Awkwafina's past, it has some questionable moments, and thankfully there's no, accent being used in this film.
Oh God, thank you.
Yeah, there's none. Yeah,
so
she doesn't do that.
Exactly. So it goes back to my point of the filmmakers leveraging what the actors do well, right? Using their strengths. And yeah, she hits the comedic beats perfectly. She is the Asian American perspective in the film, right? She's the one who is just an American person, doesn't do martial arts, doesn't do any of that, and she's just like, whoa, and she's experiencing the craziness as the world kind of develops around her. And her best friend of 10 years suddenly is Shang-Chi, like the master of kung fu, Yeah. And so then they go to China, and again, I won't spoil, but just as she experiences it is very much how I would like react if I was experiencing that too. And so I appreciated the way they used her perspective. I thought it was really interesting as the film developed, how they've elevated her character as an important character, as well as the sister Xiaoling, played by Munger Zhang. She is kind of an unknown, right? This is her first massive role, and she killed it. I mean, I love Xiaoling.
Oh my God.
I love what they did with her. She's just badass. And yeah, there it is. She's so cool. Good. Listen, we need toys with like the first half outfit of hers. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my God, that was a gorgeous outfit. I want that just to go out. Like, I just want to wear that just to go out to like karaoke with my friends.
One quick thing I wanted to point out, because you've talked about, Ben, about Black Panther and like the different characters they developed. I love Black Panther so much because it wasn't just here's T'Challa, here's your one black character who's going to hang out with all the Avengers, right? There's Nakia and Shuri and Okoye and all these characters that you're just like, oh my gosh, now they've established more than just one black character in the MCU, which we desperately needed. And I was hoping they would do that with Shang-Chi, and I think they did between Katie and Xiaoling, and even Michelle Yeoh's character, right? Ying Nan, like they're doing more than just like, okay, here's your token, here's a one that you get. And I think that's so important going forward.
Now, like Zhang Ling, that's how, am I pronouncing it right? Xialing? Xialing. Okay. With no spoilers, is easily my favorite character in the film. Like, I know Tony Leung's the legend and all that, but this woman came into this movie. I was wondering if she'd done anything. You said this is her first major role, and she's just, every scene eats it alive. Like, I was just sitting there like, oh my God, you know, who is this woman? Why is she so dope? How is she, you know, who is this character? When will I see more of her? And like you said, you know, that's what they did. They've established a whole universe in this film. Like I said, it might be even bigger and, you know, better. Not it might. It is better than Ant-Man in that regard, where Ant-Man, you know, really just gives you characters, one, who have history, you know, Hank Pym, Scott Lang, et cetera, down the line. This Stride's history is, like, as we said, pretty muddled for a lot of it. So you can't really draw on a lot of that comic history, or even just the general, you know, everyone has these general ideas about these characters from years of whatever, either comics, cartoons, all the different ways that Marvel introduces these characters to you. But in this film, they introduce all this culture, all these different characters. And it's just like with Black Panther in the same way, where it's like, to me, this woman's the star, you know, like I'd rather see her, you know, if they were like, okay, Zedlin, you know, no more Shang-Chi, this is the next film, I'd be like, yay, you know, like Shang-Chi will be in the Avengers, but the next film is about her, yay, you know, I'm good, you know. Yes, oh, that's what I've already said. Yeah, you know, I need the series on Disney Plus, like I need it. Yeah.
She like but the only thing I had an issue with, like, she's amazing. Her herself is amazing. I just wish they gave her more because she has the most interesting backstory, and I feel like they showed this amazing woman, and like she's badass, and then it kind of goes like just goes with the flow of the thing, where she should have her big moments, like bigger moments, and. I think I want her to have more dialogue, because yes, she's like, the thing is she fights, she's badass, but I don't want her to be quiet. I want her to talk, because it becomes, you're not letting the woman talk. It is Asian woman talk, and so I wanted her to have a lot more dialogue, because like it was this amazing story, and then it just kind of flutters, and I kind of wish that I want her to have more, and I'm looking forward to her like eventually, hopefully she'll have a lot more to say.
So you would say that they Monica Rambeau'd her character?
Yeah, like it's like in the beginning, and then it kind of goes. I know what you mean. Like, but then you look forward to the future.
Yeah, you know, we look forward to the future, because you know, it started off strong and then it fell apart. But you know, hey, yay!
Like, so I'm hoping
it doesn't fall apart that bad.
No, it's not that bad.
God, no.
It's not that bad.
That would have been difficult.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but it's just the dialogue. I want her to just have more say in what matters, and yeah, that was the only like problem I had, like with her situation. She herself is badass. I just wish that they gave her more. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, fully agree.
She's gonna have a say in the future.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Was that her walking in the room?
Something to say.
Pushing the door open. Because
gonna come after you, Ron. Be careful.
Ooh, yeah, no spoilers, but let me tell you, boy, yeah, you know, trust and believe, that ain't the last of that. Right. Is there anyone else that you wanted to give a mention to, you know, as far as characters?
Well, the other ones are kind of mystery. We don't want to talk about the others.
True.
But
Well, the only thing I'll say, again, because we're trying to, now we do need to like tiptoe around spoilers, is and this is related to characters, the way they handled some of the loose ends from Shang-Chi's background and some of the other MCU past. There are things that needed to be addressed and answered for, and they did an absolutely beautiful job of doing that. And when you all watch it, you'll know what we're talking about. But I thought they were incredible job handling that.
Absolutely incredible job of handling that on so many levels too. Like, you know me, I love any FU to fanboys, and there was a good solid one. Like, get your minds right. What are you talking about? And I just love that, because like sometimes you gotta check people and be like, but this is what you're asking for, and that doesn't work in 2021, and it shouldn't have worked, ever. So, no.
I mean, other than that, no, everyone. I think we talked about everyone, even the hot Tony Leung. Yeah, so I think everyone.
I mean, you could say it again.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just the hot Tony Leung. That's all I can think of.
Because no, that man deserves all the credit. Like, I didn't realize even that this is who was Hard Boiled, or Infernal. I know it was Infernal Affair, but I didn't realize that Hard Boiled. I didn't realize, and I definitely have not seen nearly enough of his films. I'm about to start checking him out. I'm gonna ask for some recommendations from y'all because, I mean, he's a beast. Like, he's just an absolute beast. Like, oof, yeah.
Yeah, terrible. Well, I guess one character we didn't talk about too much is Fala Chan's character Zhang Li, who plays. Oh, yeah. Am I allowed to say who she plays, or is it like?
I kind of like. Well, they show her as his mom, so it's like that's okay. They show him because remember the scene her.
Yeah. So she played. I thought she did a great job. She doesn't play obviously a huge role, but I really loved her scenes with Tony. I bought it, right? We've talked about family a lot, and that was an important element. Like, she needs to bring that balance to Tony, to like the evil kind of version of Wenwu, and I thought she did. She did a beautiful job, and Michelle Yeoh also incredible, of course. I wish we got a little bit more of her, especially at the end. But I think together, like those two were really brought a lot in with a little.
Yeah, their chemistry was amazing, but I don't think it's hard to have chemistry with Tony Leung. But the chemistry between the two was great, and it is believable that they were a family.
And let me say, I don't think it would be hard to have chemistry with Leiko Wu because, hot, definitely. So no, I don't think there's any problems with either of them right there because those are two beautiful people. But that's Marvel, man. I'll tell you, when I was on the Captain Marvel set, that was one of the days when I realized that I'm just not attractive. It's like, oh, okay. These people are attractive, whatever, there's a difference. I see why y'all get millions for this. Because I never thought Jude Law was an attractive man. And then I'm standing across from him and I'm like, wow.
I get that.
You're one handsome dude, there's no denying this. All right. So before we talk about hot people too much, are there any last thoughts that you have about this film or anything that you want to say? Any other ideas, things you want people to know, whatever?
While Laura's thinking, the only thing I'll throw out there is, we've talked about Asians telling our stories. And, not only do we have in this film an Asian American director, an Asian American writer, right? And just Asian Americans all around, in the front of the camera, behind the camera. And I think that just blend. It's not just Asian Americans. Yeah, like Jackie Chan Sentein, like the Chinese language interpreter. Dustin, on his Instagram, has been shouting out his behind the line cast or below the line cast and crew. And I urge you all to check that out because he really does a great job of just shining light on everybody who contributed. And that every little piece is just the authenticity of the story that we're getting. And that's so rare in everything, let alone a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, right? This is the biggest blockbuster of the blockbusters, and we're getting that level of intricacy and authenticity. Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will agree. It was impactful watching Asian people speaking English too. It's a mixture of seeing Chinese too. But the thing is with Aquafina's character, she was kind of ABC, which is American born Chinese. And her Chinese was pretty bad. She said and the thing is it's relatable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. It's an Asian American thing that no matter, not you Chinese, but any language that you speak, you're born here and that you lose a little bit piece of that. And it was kind of comforting to see that she's not just oh, ni hao, she's speaking perfectly as an Asian American, and you know, as we stay here generationally, we lose a little bit. And I feel like that felt really relatable. And I felt like I was kind of seen in that point too. Like when she was like, just seeing her interact with everyone and viewing the world as an Asian American too. It's just, I was like, wow, this is really amazing, because this is like kind of like how I live my life. And so that, I think it's going to be impactful for a lot of people like that, because it not only showcases first generation coming here, and you're born, like, and you coming here, but it's also the next generation of Asian Americans. And I really appreciate that.
Well, that's the question then about, I mean, you said the next generation, but how do you feel like older generations will take this film?
Like, what do you mean older? Like my parents?
Yes.
My mom will think Simu and Tony Leung's hot, so I think she would.
We always go back to that.
No. My mom actually said to me like, "Oh, they're so handsome," and I'm like, "Okay, we will watch this together, Mom. Don't worry." But my dad loves martial arts, so it's not. So I feel like the styles reflect the Chinese, like the old school styles too. So I think focus would be the martial arts.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many of the older generation of Asians watch like Marvel movies, you know, so there's an intimidation factor of not really understanding the whole element of it that Marvel always struggles with, right? Like if you haven't watched every single phase, are you going to be able to understand? Now, this movie, you can understand. You don't need to know a whole lot. But to me, it's very much like when Star Wars Rogue One came out and there were all these families who were like, Donnie Yen is in a Star Wars movie. Like my mom wants to watch it. My dad wants to watch it. And I think with Tony, and to a lesser extent, Michelle, that there is going to be an element of that where it's just going to be, even though they may not have wanted to watch it, it's going to be like, oh man, we've made it. Like these amazing heroes that I've watched all my life from back home. Like now here they are in the biggest franchise in the world and in an American film. So I think that is going to be interesting to them. And you know, like it's still a Marvel movie. I don't want to make it sound like it's like a, you know, some kind of super artsy film. So your mileage may vary, but I think there is going to be that attraction, and I think that's great.
No, that's interesting because like I know my mom. I'm not sure about my dad, but my mom didn't really. She liked Black Panther, but she wasn't like, oh my god, this is some thing. And she'd never seen any of the Marvel films. I think other than that one at that point. So she was like, whatever. It wasn't like this. But like how I was about it, where I'm like, no, this is the movie, like this changes everything. Yeah, and she wasn't like that. So, I was just wondering how you think your elders will feel about it. I love that it will influence the next generation because that is the people who I'm always most worried about. I really never care about older folks or people even my age as much because I don't care, but. A lot of people, they get stuck in their ways and it's just hard to change them. And it's like, I can't sit there and argue with you if you believe that we shouldn't race bend characters or we shouldn't, change things from the comics. Those type of things just don't matter to me. And that's something like even you pointed out because, I know we're going to talk about this more with Eternals. There's always that argument, create new characters versus, race bending. And I'm always like, do both. And whatever, as long as you do it right, because like in this film, like you said, his mom is originally white from the comics. And they could have ran with that. They could have just gone with that. They could have still told pretty much the same story. But to just flip it and make his mom Asian just, changes things around and allows yet another Asian presence on screen, which we wouldn't have had before. And that's all what I always say is like, it's just a numbers game to me. Like how can we get more numbers that are done right? Is it by race bending or is it by creating new? Why not both? Whatever leads to this, where we have movies like this, is what I'm looking for. So
yeah, agreed. And talking about the next generation, I know we've all been glowing about this film, and again, I really loved it. One area I would have liked to see more of, and I hope we get to see more going in the future, is how everybody from Shang-Chi, Katie, Xiaoling, how they may be impacted by being in America. By understanding a culture that's not just like traditional Chinese culture or, being in Asia. Like I would have loved to explore a little bit. I mean, we have only so much time. It's already like an over 2-hour runtime. But I would have loved to see how Shang-Chi might have been impacted by escaping to America away from his dad and how that might have changed him and opened his eyes and all of that. And maybe even his friendship with Katie. Katie seems like a very much, like Laura said, ABC. how did that maybe open his eyes and expand his worldview? Because I think for a lot of kids who are going to watch this movie, that's them, right? A lot of them are either came here at a young age or were born here, and being exposed to American culture, but a diverse American culture has this huge impact on them and on, like, did on me. I'm sure it did on all of you. And so I would like to have seen a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I will agree with Ron that the parts I most enjoyed was when they are rooted in reality kind of thing, where you get to see them kind of just be Americanized, like American too. Like, and I would love to see more impact of that lifestyle, like how he came to be and like how they became friends, all that stuff. The history, his history. This is a great origin story. And like, I'm hoping like whatever future that they plan for him, that we could see some flashbacks or anything that could help us further like evolve the story of this character.
But no, I fully agree with all that. Like you said, I wanted to see more of my baby right here. So I think, there's been this talk right now of Finn getting a prequel sequel series on Disney Plus. And I'm sure they have plans for all these characters. And once this movie hits, and it's the massive hit that I predicted will be, having seen it now, because before I saw it, I couldn't say that. I was like, I don't know. And I don't know if they're going to hit or not. Now that I've seen it, I think this movie is going to be a massive hit because the word of mouth is going to be incredible. I think it's going to have legs. I think people will be talking about it for a long time. I didn't even realize it was 2 hours plus because it sings, it just flies right through the movie. It instantly gets you into the characters. It's got great, opening moments, and before you know it, the action kicks off, and then the movie just takes off from there. So I just didn't even realize I didn't even think about how long it was, but I was enjoying every second of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know we are like glowing about this film and everything. But I do agree the things that I would have liked to see. Even like I felt like with you, I felt like Katie's character maybe took away some of the moments that I would have liked to see from Shane's sister towards the end. I would have liked to see more of her do some of those moments that Katie's character had. And I can't say I understand why they made that choice. I like Katie, but I didn't need her to do all that, dude. But yeah. But like I say, I love that it's not a traditional Marvel ending. No spoilers, but there's no big blue beam of light from the sky in this one. There's some ill shit that I really did not expect to see on screen. Not knowing the cultural history of some of it, I was like, what the fuck is all that? That's horrible. This got dark real quick, so I loved all that it did defy some of my expectations. But yeah, it's not a perfect. I would overall give it like a B plus, A minus, somewhere in there. Like I say, it has to carry a lot of weight. And so because of that, I'll give it an A minus at the very least. I'd say an A. It's a solid joint, But that's something Marvel just don't miss that much, like they know what they're doing over there.
Yeah, and I'm hoping people understand that this is not representing all Asians, and they shouldn't have to. I feel like we should never put the responsibility of one movie representing all Asians. Like Crazy Rich Asians did not represent all Asians, and this movie does not represent all Asians. And the thing is, it should not have that responsibility too, because it's just being a movie, and we should appreciate it like a movie. And it does represent a lot of East Asians or like Asian Americans, like just the story wise, but it doesn't represent all Asians. You may not relate to it. Some people may. It's a story that we hope that it could relate to everyone, and not just Asians. It could relate to everyone. And like, but the great thing is that we're going to see a slate of films that are going to have a lot of Asians that are leading Asians. Like we're going to have Miss Marvel. We're going to have like Cersei, and we're going to have like a Gilgamesh. We're going to have a lot of different characters that hopefully it'll expand even more and more and more, so we can have that general representation that we want for our Asian community. But just I know a lot of people have been saying like, oh, it doesn't represent me. I'm like, yes, it doesn't represent you, but it represents a whole bunch of people who, like, this is for people who do, and they should have the responsibility. So I think it's a good representation of for people who really see themselves in it, and that's it.
And yeah, I think that's wild because But I know people put the same thing on Black Panther, and people said the same thing. People are like, yo, I'm not no African prince. I don't see myself in this. And I'm like, I aspire to be one. I'm not one either, dog. But, you know, it's like aspirational things are good too. But, you know, at the same time, now Disney has had time and they've given you Captain America and a Winter Soldier, which was very, you know, to me, might even be more Black or at least more African American than even Black Panther was. And it had a lot of viewpoints that I didn't agree with from Black people in that series. But that was the point, because it should be a diverse, you know, people should have opinions that I don't agree with, you know, Sam. But, you know.
That's right. Yeah, that show had its own
We'll
issues.
move on from that.
Yeah.
But exactly what you guys were saying, the fight for representation is not won.
Mhm.
You know, it's ongoing. And this is just one milestone that we can celebrate and be proud of, but it's not over. We have to keep pushing, keep fighting. And that's what all three of us on here, that's what your show, you know, is all about. And that's why we're here. We got to keep doing it. It's not over.
Mm-mm. All right. Well, I think that is about it. Thank you all for joining us. Before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you at, anything you're working on, anything you want them to check out. Laura?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at LCircle. I'm also with part of the Nerds of Color. You can check me out. Like I post whatever outlets. I'm also a freelance writer, so I also post wherever I write for. My review should be coming out tomorrow as well for the movie. So I'll be posting all about that. But you can find me on social media at LCircle. And then just spelled that exactly, LSIRIKUL. But yeah, so you can find me there.
Awesome. And Ron?
And you can find me at pocculture.com, where all my work is. I founded that site as a passion project because representation matters. I'm on social media. On Twitter, I'm at POC_culture because they won't give me the dead account that's POC culture. But on Instagram, I'm the straight at POC culture. But here's the thing. All that is fine. I hope you all follow me. But I'm running something called the Shang-Chi Challenge. And I was inspired by my friend, Fred Joseph, who did the Black Panther Challenge in 2018. He raised not only over $50,000 to take kids from Harlem and all around the country to see Black Panther, but he inspired many other fundraisers. And he reached out to me. He's such an awesome guy. And so we've already raised over $13,000 to send kids from the Boys and Girls Club in San Gabriel Valley, which is, thank y'all, which is a suburb in LA, which has a huge Asian population. There's more Asians in San Gabriel Valley than 42 states in the country. And so I specifically picked that Boys and Girls Club. I grew up in San Gabriel Valley. So I hope you all will check it out. It's on GoFundMe. Search Shang-Chi Challenge. And we're going to hit it hard. Our initial goal was 10,000. We zoomed past that. So thank you all who did that. And I hope you all will, step up again and we're doing more screenings. And we're going to try to do some Disney Plus private viewings for those who can't go to the theater. So check us out, Shang-Chi Challenge on GoFundMe.
Wow, man. Once again, Ron trying to have me cry up in here.
Oh.
As always, thank you all for joining us here on Views from the 616. I'm your boy, DJ Ben Amin. Please make sure you're following us at Views from 616, at For All Nerds, and me at DJ Ben Amin. You can also follow us on Twitch, where you should or probably are watching this, twitch.tv/For All Nerds, where we broadcast every Monday with our reviews of right now, What If, but all the Marvel properties. And this will drop whenever you're watching it because, it's special and it's what we're doing for you today. So, peace.